His minutes per goal involvement, that's better than Sesko marginally. Sesko better when it comes to minutes per goal. And look at the XG there. His conversion rate is significantly better than Ollie Watkins over the course of the last 2 seasons. Those are the 2 seasons he's been at RB Leipzig. So a plus 9.5 XG means he scored nearly 10 goals more than you'd expect based on the chances that have been created for him and the shots he's taken. That's Watkins, who scored 3 more than we'd expect, but he's still got a very healthy conversion rate. Last season, Manchester United's number 9 scored 4 goals in 32 Premier League matches in the form of Rasmus Højlund. I don't think you can blame him entirely. Still a young striker finding his way, but if United can do a deal for a striker, I think most United fans probably feel they need to sign a striker in this transfer window, though Rasmus Højlund did look quite encouraging the other night against West Ham. There is definitely a player there. The question is, do United go for the finished product in Ollie Watkins? 30 years of age, if it costs between 40 and 60 million pounds, there's no resale value there whatsoever. Sesko, 22, still yet to hit the heights yet, but the ceiling is there. It's enormous. He's going to be one of the best strikers in Europe. Can United get him in this transfer window? They've got a number of number 10s now, haven't they? Now they've got Mbumo and Cunha. They need someone to finish off the chances. So if they can get a striker in this transfer window, you'd think it boosts their chances of doing something good this season.
He does sound like a really exciting talent, been dubbed the next Erling Haaland as well. OK, so those are the incomings. As for outgoings at United, Luke Shaw has suggested that there are no longer any stragglers in the squad as a result of Ruben Amorim's tough approach. Well, Amorim left some big names out of the club's pre-season tour, didn't he? Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony, Jadon Sancho, and Tyrell Malacia as well. Malacia, I should say. They all stayed at home, while Marcus Rashford has, of course, gone on loan to Barcelona. Let's hear from him.
There's no stragglers in this group anymore. I think everyone has to put the team first. He's made that very clear. I think, you know, he's picking players on how he feels will be best for the team, and that's, you know, his choice. And, you know, us as players, we're fully behind him and fully behind on his ideas and what he wants to implement in his team.
Yeah, I think that's a good insight, isn't it, James? Will we see any more departures then from Old Trafford anytime soon? Because they've got players they want to get off their books. Yeah,
I thought it was fascinating hearing from Luke Shaw there. I think he was talking about stragglers in terms of a mentality shift rather than pointing out the players who are not there right now with United on this pre-season tour, because, you know, there's 4 players who are training away from the first team, aren't there in the US right now. Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony, Jadon Sancho and Tyrell Malacia. Ruben Amorim suggested last week that none of the players would be sold for a cut price fee and they would be reintegrated if they're not sold. I'm not so sure that's the case. Maybe that was a negotiating strategy from Amorim. I think Garnacho is absolutely key here, because any money United make on Garnacho in this transfer window will represent pure profit, which will give them a huge amount more flexibility in this transfer window. Now, Aston Villa, they've been keen on him, but are understood to be unable to meet the asking price to buy him outright at this moment in time. Chelsea still maintaining an interest, despite the fact they signed Jamie Gittins earlier on this summer, but it remains to be seen if they act upon that. Borussia Dortmund are interested in re-signing Jadon Sancho once again. This would be the 3rd time they've signed him, but I think wages are going to be an issue here. Juventus have also held talks. Napoli may now revisit the chance to sign Jadon Sancho, having missed out on their first choice wide option. He's heading to Nottingham Forest. More on him later in the show. As for Anthony, actually I think he helped his market value somewhat at Real Betis last season. They reached the Conference League final, and Real Betis would like to bring him back, ideally this season. The issue is, I think they feel like a loan is more feasible. That's what their president has been quoted as saying. It is a case with all these players. United would love to do a permanent deal. They'd love to just get rid of these players in a polite way now because of the wages they're on, because of the amount of money that's been spent on them. If there's a permanent way of getting rid of these players, that would be ideal. If not, you'd be looking at loans with a permanent element attached to that.
I would just say, like James is explaining there, that the priority for United is to offload these players and to ideally get them on a permanent deal. And we thought that was before they could go back into the market. Now, sequence-wise, that's not necessarily the case. Manchester United, it's all about timing. If, for example, we've been talking about Benjamin Šeško, if that deal presents itself at some point in the next week or so, and they haven't sold any of these players before then, United will still feel that they can do that deal, but they will need some sort of assurance that somewhere along the line, some of these players are going to get sold. It doesn't have to be, well, I know you want to come now, Benjamin, but you're going to have to wait because we need to get rid of these players. It's a timing situation. It's a little bit like when Arsenal fans were complaining when they were actually signing players earlier on in this transfer window. Yes, Zubamendi's great. Yeah, Norgard, that's a good signing. But why aren't we signing a striker? Sometimes it's the timing. So Manchester United, ideally, yes, make the sales to bring in. Ideally, yes, but it doesn't necessarily have to go in that order.
Okay. Patience, Manchester United fans. Okay. Liverpool then. And Luis Diaz has completed his move to Bayern Munich. James, this is for a substantial amount of money for a 28-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely is. And even then, I don't think Liverpool really wanted to let him go. We've been reporting on the transfer shows throughout this summer that he was not for sale, and Liverpool made that clear to Bayern Munich and to Barcelona. But they've reluctantly accepted for a number of reasons. A, the fee, £65 million. They think that represents his market value. And when you consider the fact he wanted to leave, he's been exploring moves elsewhere. He's 28 and there was little chance of him signing a contract renewal with 2 years left on his contract. It does make a lot of sense, and Liverpool are making a profit of around £22 million on a player who's given them really good service over the course of 3.5 seasons. He first spoke about wanting to leave last summer, but Liverpool held firm. They wanted to assess their options in the market and what they had. They didn't sign any players last summer aside from Federico Chiesa, but now with the players they've been able to bring in, it does make sense, and that fee is so significant. In fact, only 7 players over the age of 28 have commanded a higher fee. And there's some big players on that list. I think it's been a really good summer as well, it's worth saying, in terms of Liverpool and player sales. They've generated already, when this deal goes through, which it has today, more than £130 million when it comes to Diaz, Gerald Quansah, Kevin Kelleher and Trent Alexander-Arnold departing. And Darwin Núñez looks like he could be a player